everybody, and welcome back to Arcanautus Ascent. Last we left
What's up?
off... Oh, sorry.
I just what's up.
Okay, cool. Last we left off, our intrepid adventurers, the slayers of the Saltmires, or at least that's what it says on their business card, have descended to the Subsea Kingdom in an attempt to by order of, or by, I suppose, mission doled out to them by their Saltmire Sinker associate K, to assassinate or otherwise just remove Flynn Marin, who is the high priest of the Temple of the Serpent that exists in the Subsea Kingdom. Our adventurers had descended after a few days boat journey over, descended to Arcanautus, descended to the Subsea Kingdom, met with Shylvie's progenitor's progenitor, one Babrug, who owned a smithery and jeweler, and apparently is on the older side. Gave y'all some advice, warned Shylvie to not brag about their age because older, how is it correctly pronounced? Iaso? Asayo?
Iaso.
Thank you. Older Iaso are generally kept a closer eye on, perhaps. And what else? You all attended or headed to the Temple of the Serpent, where one of the priests was displaying an illusory "How's It Made" episode, and just being like, "Oh man, the Subsea Kingdom is so cool. We're making so much progress. Everything's moving forward, and we're getting motivated, and we're doing stuff." Instead of just being sleepyheads. He didn't say that part because that would have been offensive potentially, but he did to those of the older faith. But he did in fact imply it, perhaps. All right. You all met up with the High Priest Flynn Marin, the gentleman with the octopus head. And Shylvie, hiding on the back of Siegfried, had helped Siegfried make a good first impression, which, because of the ring Siegfried was wearing, happened to have a magical effect on Flynn Marin. And Flynn Marin currently considers Siegfried a good friend for another, 19 hours. That said, he brought you all up the tall spire that is the Temple of the Serpent, up to his main office, I suppose you could call it, with the large, lovely mosaic that I didn't draw, but is implied, of the serpent escaping the trench, and of the surroundings, the environments outside the Subsea Kingdom. Zen had purchased a magical item from Babrug.
The crown?
Yes, I believe it was it the Crying King's crown, or...
Yeah.
Yes, the Crying King's crown, Babrug's supposed masterpiece. And Zen sees stuff now.
I see dead fish people.
He does see dead fish people. In particular, he sees 3 large, ghostly sharks with these pale fish slowly swimming around the room, and just generally being ambivalent, that seem to phase in and out of existence between the ethereal and the material plane. With what you realize upon thinking about it, is the heartbeat that you could all feel throughout the ocean in this region, and what is understood to be perhaps the heartbeat of the serpent itself. Who knows? Flynn had made an offhand comment about these things keeping track of how active the serpent was for him, as a little side note. He mentioned that he has the controls for the large glowing sphere that illuminates a majority of the Subsea Kingdom, and he showed you the dimmer light switch that controls it. And he had shown you the sphere here, sort of the indicator for the orb, and it appears as he had done his commune ritual, a sort of object of focus for him to do said ritual. He had asked a couple questions of his god, and the questions had been, I believe it was, are you being parasitized by something right now? And he had sort of nodded and acknowledged the answer. The group was given an opportunity to ask a question, and they had asked, did you meet a, and they said, like, Shylvos, or the wrong name of, you're echoing again, Shylvos.
Yep.
They, gave the wrong name of a whatever, and the answer had been no, and he actually told you that. And the final question that Flynn Marin had asked of supposedly the slumbering serpent was, do you have the best interest of the Subsea Kingdom at heart? And after this question and the answer, his entire visage, as some octopi are wont to do, flushed white, and these black circles with the yellow internal smaller circles appeared across his visage, coming from his originally kind of pink with white spots, again, visage. My faith
I don't like that.
My faith is quite strong, and I am rather confused. And we are back. You all stand before Flynn Marin, who sort of looks between you all, looks at Siegfried. A sort of nervousness has settled upon him after receiving the answer to that last question. Does the serpent, or does whatever he's asking, have the best interests of the Subsea Kingdom at heart? He's not talking right now, but he is staring intently at the orb, his tentacles on his head and face twitching and kind of curling and uncurling as he kind of nervously leans forward to the desk, puts his besuckered hands down, and sort of is just tapping them, the fingers sucking and unsticking from the surface of the table as he stares at the orb, the glowing orb before him. If you all don't do anything, he will stay like this for a little bit.
Is everything alright there?
His head twitches over to you, Zen. I didn't get the answer that I didn't get the answer that I had hoped for. It's funny that I hadn't thought to ask such a question before. I had just assumed, and of course assumptions are the enemy of the truth. But then, what is the truth anyways? He sort of leans back off the desk and steps around, sort of puts a hand on his sort of, what you now understand is a sort of like sleeping apparatus, nest cocoon type thing. And he kind of just runs a hand along it, with difficulty on account of the suckers on his hands, but he does it. He looks towards Siegfried, and gives a sort of a bit of a sad smile. There is concern, perhaps, that something is corrupting the serpent itself. Now, I am of the mind, and pardon my outlook, though it is tempered by my own understanding of things, were the serpent to awaken, rile, and rouse itself, would it not cleanse itself of such reaches? Would it not purify itself, return itself after whatever it sees fit to do? And he sort of looks around and out across the mural to where the Subsea Kingdom is on the mural itself. And he sort of gets that worried look again. Would it not return back to the state it was in before?
So he's asking if the serpent awakes, wouldn't it be able to handle, like,
he's sort of asking, he's sort of putting the words out into the room. It seems like he may be philosophizing a bit. And you all are just kind of collaterally involved in his own personal reflection right now.
It seems more like denial.
I mean, are you gonna point anything out? Are you gonna say anything?
That's he would say that right out loud. That sounds a bit like denial.
He swings his head in your direction again, Zen. But what else can I do? What other path can exist for the Subsea Kingdom? What other truth am I to believe? My family is gone, lost in a war that I did not wish to participate in, but was dragged in due to the all-encompassing nature of the conflict. My bloodline is gone. Once I am gone, there will be no more to carry on my legacy. Besides the church itself and the acolytes that follow it. If Arcanautus, the spheres, the dark circles that were noted by the or were surrounding the yellow spots expand ever so slightly, his white visage slowly turning black to just have these barely visible white lines, almost like cracks existing throughout it, the yellow dots remaining. What possible... There was not enough proof. There was not enough to sway me from whatever path your words seem to be drawing me towards. There is no... I'm sorry, my friend Siegfried. I can't... Rather, I won't change the way things are. The Subsea Kingdom needs to continue to improve itself, to develop technologically and theologically. We can't... And he actually grabs the sleeping pod and actually tips it off to the side, sending up bubbles and bits of detritus from the ground surrounding it. The shark kind of more swiftly moves away from it as the other one kind of swims a little bit closer to the ceiling to pass around. they phase back into existence, and now everybody can see them once again. There is no... Why are you all here, really? I find, while I appreciate the company, I very much do, and it is always wonderful to have someone as lovely and as enjoyable to speak to as you, Siegfried. Why really are you all here? You, Shylvie, you've said...
Shylvie's not here.
Yeah, never mind, Shylvie's not here. Sorry. Has Shylvie spoken through Siegfried?
Yes.
Yes, that's...
Okay, that's why I was getting
low-tone
confused.
voice.
Sorry about that.
Low-tone voice.
Okay, my bad.
Siegfried.
So you've said your companion is here for, what, their family?
Is correct. And
Excellent. More power to them. Through the current teachings of the Temple of the Serpent, we will defend the families that exist here. We will defend this place. We will keep the Subsea Kingdom from being destroyed as it was threatened to be all those years ago. I can't let what happened to me happen to anyone else. He is quite intense right now. And you all can see, like, he is standing up straight and sort of grasping his hands in these, like, clenched fists. Not up to fight, but clenched sort of in a very eager, frustrated stance.
I would take a look at Siegfried, at his expression. You got any descriptions for me?
Siegfried is smiling right now, very sinisterly.
I see.
I mean, he has a mask on, so you...
Yeah,
That's true.
Damn. I look at his jawline and imagine what he's doing.
You've seen it before, even with just the jawline. You can tell
the
sinister smile shines
guy.
through even the mask to those who know him well. To those who know him well enough.
So I would then say, no one here wants the destruction of the Subsea Kingdom. No one. That helps no one. For the time we spent here, this seems to be a very beautiful place. They weren't exactly accepting of us folk, but I mean, not any less than any other place. So, no one here wants that. We came here, one, because a friend wanted to see the family they haven't seen in a while, and two, because through our own interactions with the avatars of the serpent that have been forced upon the serpent itself, with our encounters with it, it itself told us that it wanted this scenario to stop. It wanted to stop being woken up. It wanted people to stop prying its consciousness away from its body and placing it into a physical state so that it can wrought destruction. So that's why we're here. Well, in addition to the first thing, we just want to know that the serpent isn't forced to do something it doesn't want to do. And as I've said before, you want to protect your civilization. A giant continent-sized serpent that has been known to destroy things as soon as it wakes up, and who's literally told us that the moment it wakes up, its anger is gonna explode and destroy everything. You guys are next door, even if it's just him stretching after he gets up. I don't picture your civilization doing very well after that.
He sort of looks towards the mural and notes how how close the trench is to the Subsea Kingdom, and sort of nods for a second and scratches his head a little bit.
We can see it from here.
This is a consideration that we have taken into account. The Gulpreen are improving the barrier daily.
I pull out the spire again.
He sort of narrows his eyes at it and just he knows what it is, and you can see this in his face. He's not commenting on it, but he just tilts his head and looks at it and narrows his eyes.
Don't shield your eyes from what's in front of you, Flynn Marin. The Gulpreen, I don't doubt they have they have things planned for the betterment of your country, as long as they are patriotic folks. But what they're doing is not the right way. As we told you, a Avatar of the Serpent bearing these spires attacked land with no remorse and no sorry, the word is escaping me, but there was no threatening. The word's escaping me.
Hesitation.
Well, that too, but we weren't in battle, and it attacked us essentially.
Provoked.
It attacked. Yes, no provocation. It attacked unprovoked, and it was inside of it, controlling it, was a machine very similar to what we've seen just entering your kingdom. So I can't even imagine what else they could have been doing.
The Gulpreen have brought this civilization more advancements, more defensive apparati, more safety nets than we have ever had in our entire history. The marrow.
They're using your god. Listen to me when I say that. They're using your god. As a man as devout as you, can you support that?
Zen, go ahead and make a persuasion check for me. He seems to be extremely intense right now. His eyes dart back and forth. He looks to Siegfried every so often, gives a gentle nod, but then looks back to you and shakes his head. He's having a really rough time sort of reaching a satisfying conclusion here.
Shylvie /
Shylvie speaks up through Siegfried. What did they say?
Gesture. They have a good.
Are you assisting?
Yeah.
Alright, Zen, go ahead, roll with advantage. Yeah, there you go.
So.
Flynn sort of gets back behind their desk and sort of looks at the sphere again. They turn around and look back at the mural and the trench. If you all... Go ahead and roll perception checks for me, everybody. What is...
Oh boy.
Whoever follows his gaze, or perhaps anybody who is watching intently, can make a perception.
I think we all know Siegfried does not stop looking into people's eyes.
So I can assume... Well, yeah, he's turned his back to you at this point.
But Zen is keeping track of his every move. He's ready to shrink this guy in a moment's notice.
So Zen is focusing more on Flynn himself, not getting distracted by whatever he's looking at or whatever.
Yeah, and that roll supports it.
Yep. Shylvie, did you... Yep, okay.
Yeah, that's a 15.
Shylvie, you are able to pick out, as you slide a eyeball around Siegfried's shoulder real quick, you're able to get a glance at the trench that is depicted on the mural. And you don't get any information about when the mural was made or if any additions were made or whatever, but one thing you do notice, and this is the important thing, that Flynn Marin appears to be looking at now, is the yellow lights, the very, very tiny little specks that dot what appears to be the depiction of the base or deep within the trench itself. And he traces his eyes, you see his head go along, and then eventually reach the end where the depiction of the serpent exiting is. Logic dictates to you, based on the image of the serpent itself having these lights all along its flank, appear to be eyes or some bioluminescence of the serpent's body itself. These faint little tiny, tiny lights are more clear on the body of the serpent itself. Brighter on the serpent once it has exited the trench, but present in the trench itself as well, despite the depiction of the serpent being mostly emerged. Flynn sighs, his head going back to the white with the smaller black circles and yellow circles within. You've calmed him down slightly, but he is still on edge. I think, perhaps, that you, my friends, and he swings back towards you all.
Ayo.
Say again?
Zen to fake. Shylvie to personate Zen. Half quote Shylvie.
You're cutting out a little bit. What was that?
I have no idea what you just said, bud.
Shylvie
Alright.
quo to Zen to quo Shylvie.
Okay. Yeah.
Maybe just type it in Roll20. I don't know.
Yeah, are you trying to be like stealthy or something? You could just
No.
say it and
Alright.
Well, if they can say it, is whatever their connection decides it's going to let them say.
or you could just message me.
To quote said friends.
Oh, he's saying to quote me.
Yes.
There is no better path.
There is no better path.
True.
Sure.
Our honest route.
Our honest route.
Honest route.
There's no better path
Right.
than the honest
A
route.
leaving behind a legacy peace and honesty. Best way.
I feel like this is a really heartfelt speech that I'm hearing about half of.
Yeah. Alright.
Same.
It's really cool, and I'm sure I'd love it. Just type,
Just type it in chat for right now.
because this sounds like something that I definitely want Flynn to react to appropriately, or to figure out if we need a roll here of any sort. Flynn seems to be at a... Yeah, okay.
So, to quote
The
my
most
friend,
important thing is to be honest and kind. Flynn seems to acknowledge this, nods.
even when we're
Even when your regrets and bitterness overwhelm your best interests.
wow, this is a good speech, guys.
No, come on.
No, I mean, I'm being serious about that part.
Oh, well, good, good.
It's just funny that this is how it's coming out.
I mean, yeah.
But no, no, this is.
To read it,
it's
you have to
cool.
read it off the teleprompter.
Yeah. It's all good. Flynn is listening intently as Siegfried, as Shylvie has to adjust as their mouth ended up falling down at one point, and they're trying to kind of pull it back up the body, sort of back into a
Damn,
position where it
Siegfried.
sounds like it's coming from Siegfried's face.
I didn't know he was that deep.
That's the
Yeah,
lore.
Siegfried,
That's
you
the
type
lore. Nobody wants war, but nobody wants to be the bigger man and stop hurting the people who hurt them. Flynn
Oof.
I
That
wouldn't
hit.
say
is
nobody wants
listening
war.
intently, and sort of, as you say these words, seems to ease. The shoulders lower slightly. Siegfried. I knew I could rely on you to say something that would both call out my own fixations and put things into a more simplified and honest perspective. What am I to do, I wonder? There are aspects. There are pieces of this puzzle. The corruption of our faith, its misuse, and the abuse of the serpent itself, supposedly, as you put it. Its origins are, if I am being honest, and I feel I can be with you specifically, Siegfried, kind of eyes over at Zen apprehensively, but continues. I do not fully understand the extent to which these artifacts, this machinery that the Gulpreen utilize in channeling the power of the serpent itself, I do not fully understand how they function. If they are harming the serpent, if they are bringing grief to the one who made this civilization possible, well, perhaps I should look into things. If I was to say one thing, there are demons, creatures of the trench that have not arisen in many a year. They hunt the waters near the trench and slightly beyond now. One of our temples that had been on the edge of the trench fell recently, within the past month.
The Kuatoa one?
The Kuatoa temple, yes. While some may still take up residence there, they now worship a corrupted, perhaps, version. I let them do what they would do as their freedom to worship was allowed, as they exist outside the city itself, and they are not an immediate threat to our more peaceful, or at least more organized religious order. But if I was to point to one aspect that perhaps could be culled from the current system of beliefs, these Kuatoa that have become essentially a sect of a sect, if it pains me to call it that, but these Kuatoa, they are most likely corrupted at this point by this demonic influence. They originally had an archpriest to defend the temple and generally keep away the more invasive demonic forces that would ever so often creep their way from the abyss. But with the number and quality of the ascending monstrosities, I fear that perhaps their faith has been completely turned, and they themselves with it. Kuatoa,
quick
while
question.
they can be kind, they can be faithful, very faithful, they tend towards zealotry and can be greedy with faith, if I was to put it in one way. I am quite concerned, and if I was to seek out the temple perhaps for answers or proof, definitive proof of either the Golpreen's involvement in their corruption or that there is a immediate lead on how we can approach assisting the serpent with ridding itself of its parasite, then that would be the next step, I feel. You were about to say something. I apologize for my rambling. Zen?
Did that archpriest that you mentioned, did they have like a staff made of like onyx that like twisted around a stick? Like it was an onyx serpent twisted around a stick that had its mouth open.
It was...
Like did electric things.
It was... yes, in fact. I believe you are referring to the... I'm trying to remember the Staff of Awakening.
Yeah, that's
You
what
refer to the
thing.
Staff of Awakening, yes. That is an artifact possessed by the Archpriest, forged for him before he had ascended fully to his position, but perhaps not used. You said perhaps...
Yeah, he's dead.
Oh.
He and
How do you
several
know
other
this?
He and several other Kuatoa slayed an entire Triton village near Arcanautus. We happened to be going there to visit, to look out for someone.
It was him?
And oh yeah, he almost killed me. And
That sounds about right.
When they summoned the aspect of the serpent,
Oh.
the aspect swallowed them all
Oh.
added their bones to its mass.
I did not perhaps fully understand the immediate severity of such a thing. If the Archpriest is gone, the temple has likely fallen. What did he tell you? Was he fleeing? Was he hiding? What was he doing?
Oh, they were trying to they were trying to recruit the Tritons into following the more radical faith of it, which is waking the serpent, and they all said no. So they killed them and made them into a bone altar, and used the staff as an anchor to anchor the serpent's consciousness into the bone mass, which was composed of all the dead Triton, and then following up their own bodies as I repeat, this, when the aspect awoke, it swallowed all of them and added them to its mass. The only reason why we know that they all died is because we were able to see parts of their body sticking out, and the archpriest was still alive, grasping at towards the staff when we face the aspect. Though the aspect
is putting his hand to his mouth. He's almost disgusted.
Oh yeah, no, it wasn't a fun time. We almost died again. Pointing out.
Specific time that sir.
Specific
so
high, hey, sir?
Yeah, that's what we heard, bro.
What?
Why don't you disconnect?
Try disconnecting and reconnecting.
Yeah, try that, man.
Huh.
I didn't. So far.
All right.
Okay, so go for it again.
That is exact. That's found.
Try to make sure that you're keeping your tone even and you're speaking directly into your microphone. Maybe that's part of it. Like the mic isn't picking it up.
You don't have to talk lower, by the way.
That is the exact that we found out about the demon.
Okay.
The serpent.
Got it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's when the aspect spoke to us and told us about the demon.
Indeed.
Should we also talk about the Dupe Scions?
Oh fuck, you're right. Zen has a lot to say about this.
How could you guys forget about your favorite enemy encounter that I've ever given you? How could you forget about it?
And then I look dead
that
at him.
5-hour session that we did. God help me.
Don't even get me started. Don't even get me started about those motherfuckers.
So
okay.
I assume so Siegfried doesn't talk. So how does this just come up perhaps in memory, we'll say? Zen suddenly gets a disgusted look on his face and says...
Yeah. So let me tell you something a little bit more about the people who've been attacking us and whatnot. I would... So I don't think we ever knew them as Deep Scions. I don't think that was ever something we learned.
I think we'll just say Kay would have given you a rough estimate as to what they were, and she would have theorized that was what they were called.
Yeah, so I'm gonna say what Kay told us and summarize what they looked like and what they could do, and go from there.
Flynn sort of acknowledges.
Yeah, those were kidnapping people.
What?
And killing so much people. There was so much blood. So many good men died that day. And that was just 2 of them that infiltrated into just a normal town.
That is not how we are supposed to operate.
They claimed that their master had plans for the people they were Yes, they had plans for the people that they were capturing, and that
Well, pardon my asking, but who were they capturing that they had plans for?
Well, apparently there was more people prior, but the person that we encountered that they captured was the daughter of the Saltmeyers.
Which one?
The crazy one, the bad one. The Red Death.
Ah, the Red Death. Anna. Yes. Yes, legends speak
of her horrors.
Of her mercantile devilishness.
But yes, so
I actually used some soap that she produced. It's not, morally speaking, it's not super great, but like you can't argue with results.
I can't disagree. We almost got melted by lava.
Well, I mean that'll happen.
But yes,
she is the Red Death for a reason, my friend.
These attacks and all this stuff happening, especially at the same time as apparently uh happening at the same time as both of the kingdoms are attacked by a chaos rot pollution. This
I As you mentioned Chaos Rot, he speaks up. He interrupts you. I am not one for conspiracy theories. Well, perhaps, but I am very much under the assumption that at least the rulers of Arcanautus were behind that attack. It is poisoning the Subsea Kingdom is a familiar tactic that has been used in the past, and his kind of face goes black again and he clenches his fists. It proved effective the first time. Not so much now. With, as I mentioned, the protections that the Gulpreen have put in place certainly have assisted with that. Additional cleansing apparati, machines that can survive the rot and filter it. We were prepared this time.
And isn't that why it would just be perfect to incite war by causing a problem that you can easily solve and making it seem like it was the people that did it in the past? Now, I don't know who did the Chaos Rot. None of us know.
Graham.
Yeah?
What about the shark?
Oh my god. Don't get me started. Oh my god, the mecha shark.
The what?
The mecha what potentially caused the chaos rot pollution near Arcanautus was one, the explosion of a ship, and possibly the destruction of the ship via a gigantic mechanized shark whose very blood or body contained chaos rot. And it had mechanized parts in it, just like the centipede that was inside the serpent, and just like
he's sort of eyes wide. He's shaking his head in horror right now. His face is returned to its white kind of nervous color, but the circles are completely black. And he's shaking his head in abject horror as you tell this segment of the story.
And it parts of it were fairly similar to the hunter serpent's control mechanism as well. And when we pierced its body, it was almost as if there was like a cockpit in it, a cockpit
I don't.
it. No, when we were stabbing into it, you said at times it was like it wasn't just like flesh. It felt like there was hard parts inside of it.
Yeah. Yes. Perhaps. Okay.
So,
yeah. I mean, you can interpret that however you want, and I feel like that's appropriate. Yeah.
Remember, right now he's going through a freaking wait, the pieces are coming together.
Yes, he very much is, and you can see the gears turning. You can see the gears turning in his head. Speaking of turning, the sharks continue to move about the room.
I have to point out, I've been almost killed because of mechanized sea creatures too many times. Siegfried, take over for me for a second. I need a moment. Give me a sec.
Zen just having fish people PTSD.
I'm just gonna stare at the giant fish thing.
Yeah,
and imagine it
the
eating
depiction
the
of the
ones.
serpent is frankly horrifying. It is a lot less detailed, perhaps, than you might expect of an art depiction. It looks a lot like just like a sea snake, a large, dark, you think either black or purple, like a deep, deep, dark purple. with the yellow eyes, the 3 that glow in its skull, but below the above the serpentine mouth, and behind it out, layers and layers, or not layers and layers, rows and rows of fins, a couple of tendrils every segment or so, like every, I don't know. It's
fine.
it's
I
a
get it.
depiction, so you'd say
Yeah.
like at the tertiary, like third segments of its length.
Zen is just thinking, I hate
yeah.
this place and I want to leave.
Yeah, no, that sounds about right. Flinrin is mad. He pounds a fist down on the desk and says, I need to speak to and he's grabs a segment of was it GHU or GUUL? Uh-oh. It's in my sticky notes, which are on my phone. One sec. The scrawlings of a madman I have to go through to find.
Is there any connections with that we could have possibly known about the serpent and chaos rot being connected at all? Like maybe it's blood.
Besides the
being...
aspect. Oh, okay. Go ahead.
Like the guy, he mentioned that the Gulpreen was harvesting some form of energy from the serpent.
From bright squids.
Okay,
invasive...
that may have been a mistake then, because earlier you said that may have been a mistake then.
Oh, did I say from the serpent?
Yeah, you said from the serpent. Was that not supposed to be said? Was that a mistake?
No, they were. Shylvie or you said that they were using aspects of the serpent through these like summonings or whatever, and as well as the shark and the deep titan. He mentioned last session that the energy they use is from these creatures called bright squids that used to be invasive species, but they produce a shit ton of energy with this liquid that they produce, and like it's what is in that ball.
Where did they invade from?
Well,
did they invade from Caesar, the Eye of Caesar?
As you inquire, perhaps Flynn would speak up and say, the bright squids that the Gulpreen harvest, they are likely another result of the war. They did arrive in the weeks after the initial attacks. They are perhaps manufactured creatures or bred, we aren't sure, created by some mad Saltmire wizard or whatever the mages are they have over there.
I doubt that. They really hate sea monsters.
Probably not them then.
They would not willing to see monster ever.
But if they're from the Eye of Caesar, which is where chaos rot comes from, could the energy that they have be? Do you? So.
Oh, the Velu Vresses. Yeah, that's their mages they have over there. Sorry. And what were you about to ask?
If that's the case, and if the energy they're harvesting is something similar to chaos rot, and the creature, the mecha shark, seemed to have been, every inch of its flesh was what contained chaos rot, based on what our scientist friend told us.
Yeah. It had, will say it had been swimming in the stuff, but your words ring true.
This got more layers than I ever thought it was gonna have.
Flynn is considering that thing you just said too. as he says, I will need to speak to Liraster. Liraster, if you don't know yet, for all of you who are uninitiated, is a sea elf, an older gentleman, probably one of the oldest living creatures within, well, outside of perhaps Babrug, that gentleman down there, but one of the oldest living creatures in the Subsea Kingdom. He, we think, founded the Gulpreen, although his origins of his place on the council is not public knowledge, or at least I don't fully understand it. He's kept that secreted away from me. But he is the one who put forth the idea, or supposedly, according to the Gulpreen's reports, put forth the idea of the vehicles utilized both as control apparati for the hunter serpent, as well as for exploration of more dangerous regions of the ocean floor. Exploring segments of the... My brain. One sec, sorry. What was it called? The Barren Grove, or even near the Slumbering One's Trench itself. He's the one who put forth the idea of such vehicles. He is an artificer of many years. He is an intelligent, dangerously intelligent man. And I will have to speak to him on these aspects, perhaps, that we've spoken of. I will have to interrogate him, I think, would be wise. If I can even gain access to him now. The man has been unavailable for several weeks now. I'm not sure. Haven't heard hide nor hair of him. Haven't seen hide nor hair of him. Not that I see him very often anyways, but he would still stop in for service every so often, at least once a week. But if I can get access to him, I can straighten out many things. I can see how best to guide the people, or at least those of the faith. You all have given me much to think. You two have given me much to think about. Could you accept this request of mine to perhaps check the temple, and if it has been invaded by a demonic presence, eliminate said threat? I don't know how well equipped you two are. You are not from here, and you made it here, so I can assume you are well enough off as the sturdy sort. Is this the type of business you all are inclined to partake in? Siegfried, I would hate to put you in harm's way, but this is important.
Usually,
Fuck me, I guess.
although I'm not sure. Zen's trauma.
Is that abyssal you're speaking there? I can't quite,
Oh.
I heard Zen's trauma.
I also heard Zen's trauma.
Is that Zen's autobiography?
There you go. yeah, that's the title. There you go.
Zen's trauma.
I am certainly
I
up
hate him.
for it, but I'm not sure that Zen's trauma will do.
I see. Well, if it is of your interest, I could grant you all some access to perhaps a device for transportation. My influence extends to the extent, and my newfound apprehension towards trusting the Gulpreen as much as I have, despite the good, the real good that they have done for the Subsea Kingdom. I can perhaps gain you access to a means of transportation, a relatively safe means of transportation by comparison to just swimming, to the temple, if you all would be interested in such an offer. It would be much faster as well than swimming. You would gain access to a... I may, for a friend, and he kind of indicates towards Siegfried, be able to even give you a bit of an alpha strike via your transport. Now, you have two options. I can send you in... again, this is, of course, if you were to accept my request to eliminate the demonic presence from the Trench Temple. You would have the option of taking a smaller mechanical transport, slightly slower than the other option, but also much, much stealthier if you wanted a stealthy approach. Or I could call in a favor, and you could perhaps ride on the Hunter Serpent for just to arrive and perhaps to clear any creatures that exist outside the temple itself, although I would not allow the serpent itself, or its handlers likely would not allow the serpent itself to descend into the trench as it would be wont to do, lest we lose access to our technologies should it descend deep enough. These are the options I present to you, all as far as transportation. And for reward, if it is, of course, important as always, I could perhaps heed your words more actively. Perhaps he snarls, does an octopoid snarl, this garbling, just disgusted noise. Would one of you like to be a representative? We haven't had somebody in Arcanautus on peaceful terms representing us, the Subsea Kingdom itself, for a very long time now. Would this be of interest?
I think I know someone that would be pretty good for that job.
He smiles towards Siegfried.
Ha ha ha. So quick question. Are there more of these sharks that go in and out of the ethereal plane near the trench?
These are the only 3 that exist above the trench's depths. They were raised by me since they were just hatchlings to accept the lighter pressure here. Beyond them being semi-magical beings with a particular hardiness to them. No, these ones are essentially, if one, as much as something that can just go through walls can be a pet, are essentially pets. No. They do not exist outside the trench. They exist deep down. Their eggs sometimes are carried on upward currents on the far northern end of the trench, and that's how I gained these. By some miracle of the serpent, a blessing they were to me to help keep track of the serpent's activeness. They fade back. They have been fading in and out of reality this whole time, by the way. That hasn't stopped every minute.
I mean, as long as...
They are dangerous, though. If you see any, for whatever reason, do avoid them. Especially if your methods of underwater breathing are limited by time. And especially if there are many of them. Let me just pull this up. He'll actually give you the information that he knows about them. They do not see things in the traditional sense. They sense things near them, within about 30 feet. They are possessing of heightened senses into the ethereal as well. They typically feast upon, perhaps, let us say, literally the spirits of certain past fish, or those sorts of things. It's a strange physiology, not 100% bound by the laws of this plane. If you are bit by one of these creatures, hope yourself sturdy. Of high constitution, one might say. You may be knocked unconscious outright by their bite. It is not a venom. It is not a... It is perhaps a magical force, I believe. Something linked to one's spirit. When one is bit, they, while unconscious, dream these strange dreams and have visions of the depths of the trench itself. You can see the ghosts that litter and wander aimlessly on the seafloor, stretching for miles, wandering aimlessly. It is rather frightening. And while one is stuck within this state, they are, of course, unable to do anything except thrash about in their dream state. They are themselves dangerous in that they are predatory, carnivoristic creatures, but this chance of being knocked immediately unconscious is of greater concern, perhaps, due to the various, much larger or more dangerous threats of the trench itself. Although, if I was to speak frankly, I advise highly against any of you descending the trench. I did mention that we would lose access to the technology that binds the Hunter Serpent to our, or I should say, limits the Hunter Serpent's aggressiveness within our vicinity, as technology that descends past a certain point in the trench ceases to function. We are not sure why, although I theorize the mere proximity to the physical manifestation of the serpent's actual body itself has some sort of disruptive property, or some kind of barrier that destroys such devices. I'm not sure, and I can't be sure. No one can be, unless one was to descend to the depths of the trench itself, which is suicide to any and all who do not have the serpent's blessing. Even I fear to descend, and never have.
So you're saying that the serpent's very body disrupts the technology that you guys use, but your main defense against the serpent, if it awakes and starts destroying stuff, is the technology you use?
This is the barrier, they say, supposedly is immune to this effect. Now, given the information that you've given me so far, and with my trust in the Gulpreen waning with every second that we continue this conversation, perhaps they speak out of an arrogant, unconscious pride rather than what may be the truth. Although, honestly, I cannot be sure. They have worked miracles with the technology they have produced. I mentioned the vehicles did not survive. That does not necessarily mean other technologies of different sorts might not. But, I do not know the details, as one simply understands that I've heard that they lose contact with the devices that they send into the trench after a certain point. They can get about 300, 400 feet down, but then nothing. They can't call it back, they can't send commands, they cannot magically find the item, which is the most concerning part, if I may speak to my own knowledge, as this means that the serpent itself suppresses such things. Though, and he kind of leans forward a little bit and whispers, "To be frank, you can see the serpent in your dreams. Active participation in trying to witness it is generally ill-advised and, as I've said," and he leans back, "unsuccessful. What do you all say, if I may inquire, with the two options that I've given you for vehicular assistance? Are you interested in clearing the temple for me?"
I guess I would turn to look at the fusion of my two party members.
What an interesting concept. Siegfried, do you nod?
Yeah.
Yeah, killing demons sounds like fun.
Fuck.
Demons might be big. Salamander might be able to eat some, who knows? I mean, if you were to bring the salamander with you.
Yep. Salamander's safe. Oh god, I don't wanna. Guys, I wanna.
Teeny little shimmy float.
What was that, Shylvie?
It's also.
Speak up.
Shylvie's up for it as well. Indicating a little shimmy float.
Zen, you see a little kind of pseudopod stick out from Siegfried behind his neck and sort of gives a nodding motion.
Gives like a thumbs up.
Gives like a little thumbs up.
Yeah.
And I'm just like even Flynn would be able to see like the look on Zen's face, like, oh.
Is there anything?
At this point,
I'm sorry?
Shylvie is going to go invisible and pretend to walk in this very.
I'm sorry? Shylvie's going to go invisible and do what?
Pretend to walk in from the front door.
Pretend to walk in now.
Oh, interesting. Okay, so Shylvie turns invisible. Siegfried, make a performance check for me, or Shylvie make a stealth check, one or the other. I feel like the performance check would be funnier, but the stealth check would probably be more effective. It's your call.
What? Why don't you do both and take the average?
Yeah.
Sure, fuck it. Siegfried, performance. Shylvie, stealth.
It's a team effort.
This is for Siegfried to not react to Shylvie. Yeah, okay, so, I keep forgetting you have a +3 to your fucking charisma as well. Like, Jesus Christ.
He's the most charismatic mute barbarian.
I know, right? It's all focus. Yeah, okay, you're able to proceed and do this flawlessly. Shylvie, you exit, and you silently exit as Flynn is sort of explaining. Yes, you can't see them, but every so often you'll notice the sharks They do it very rarely. I'd say once a week at most. They'll swim off downstairs and snack on one of the little fish that tend to congregate down there, and then swim back up before they turn back. They seem comfortable in this room on the physical plane. And while he's like going off on this like biology lesson on his fish, his shark pets, Shylvie, you enter the room.
Hello, friends.
Flynn
Sorry.
sort of seems alarmed and sort of puts his hands on the table and leans forward. What do you need?
Oh, these are my friend.
Ah, yes, this is the one that you had mentioned, Siegfried.
Yeah, that's our friend Shylvie. Zen walks up because he realizes that Siegfried can no longer talk.
Yeah,
so he
I
goes,
was gonna say, Flynn sort of was like looking to Siegfried for like acknowledgement and sort of is kind of like tilting his head a little bit, like as he waits.
He's like, yeah, that's our friend Shylv. They they're the person who's from here, and if we were to have a quote unquote representative, they'd probably be the right fit.
I see.
All right, we'll take a peek at the place.
Excellent.
Just I'm staying away from that trench
I
as much as
highly
possible.
advise it. It is
And-
about 150, 200 feet away from one of the edges of the trench, so keep this in mind. Do not wander far from the temple itself, lest you be caught in the undertow, which exists around a 50 to 80 foot radius around the southern edge of the trench. About a mile south of the temple itself. Make sure that you approach straight from the Subsea Kingdom itself. I will give you a sea map. I will procure one in just a moment to hand off to you so that you may proceed without any potential getting lost. Will you take the vehicle for yourselves, or would you like to be escorted and picked up by the hunter serpent? Now, the hunter serpent is not an inconspicuous creature, if I may say so.
Go with
Sorry, what was your decision, Shylvie?
vehicle, Shylvie.
Shylvie would prefer the quieter, more stealthy vehicle. Okay.
We never know. The hunter serpent might end up getting taken over by the demons too.
Oh, don't say things like that in this holy place. That is the worst case. Well,
No,
the second worst case scenario.
third. It would
Third?
be third. There's the
The Guardian. Yes, that's right. If you see a shadow pass over the temple, or feel the pressure in the water suddenly increase greatly, and all of you notice it simultaneously, just go down. Go down as far as you can. Unless you are obviously above the trench itself. But if you dig yourself into the sediment, generally you will be ignored. That is my advice, and the only advice that I've seen works if one encounters the Guardian. The Guardian does not typically approach the temple unless something is encroaching upon the trench itself from that direction. The Guardian knows where it ought to be, and that is not where it ought to be. Typically. But, again,
I don't want to
things have been strange, and many demons have been exiting unabated lately.
I'm gonna cry.
Of course, if you see it, it is likely already too late, so keep this in mind and be at peace if you do see it.
Flynn, you really know how to get someone motivated to
I
do a job for you, huh?
apologize. I feel like there has been much deception in this world as of late, especially as you bring it to light. A bit of explicit honesty, despite the bluntness, I feel is overall for the best.
Yeah, sure.
You know
Well,
what you
I
are
think-
getting into, but what you are doing here...
But I'm quite sure
Sorry?
I'm up for it, and I'm quite sure that Siegfried, if you want to Ascent.
Excellent.
Don't
If
do that.
Siegfried is
Don't.
happy to do it, then I hope and wish you all the best.
Quick question before things get sad for me. Do you know if there's any like super rare, powerful like weapon that I'm a collector. I'm
Well,
super into that kind of thing. Do you know if your country has anyone like that?
The best smith that I have met personally is, I would say, Babrug. He does a lot
Ah,
of delicate work. But as
It's
far
either
as
my
rare
grandfather or my
materials
great-
go, the Gulpreen handle much of the production and control much of the production of such things now, as of late. Non-artisan goods and some privatized weaponry as well. Do tell, what is your interest in such things, if I might inquire, so that I may better answer your question?
I'm really into rare and magical melee weapon, and I wish to hone my craft so that I can create and own the strongest of them. So I like to compare it with other ones.
The Kuatoa, from what I had heard before they apparently abandoned or were driven out of or were sent, and he says that with a bit of vitriol in his voice, supposedly had access to some materials from the trench itself, though heaven knows how they were able to acquire them. Things that resonate with the deep in a way that fluctuates with the beating of the serpent's heart. It is a similar effect, and he points to the sharks which phase back into existence. It is a similar effect to what you see with the sleeper sharks here. The sea dreamer sharks, I should say. But
So
it affects the mineral. Perhaps mineral is the wrong word. It is a type of coral, essentially, but sturdy from what I've heard.
So you're saying I could make a phase sword?
It would phase between the ethereal and the material planes, so perhaps.
Okay, guys, I have
And there's
some
the adventure
reason to
hook
go.
for Zen.
I have something here. Let's go and probably die, guys. Yay! Where's this? Where can we get the stealth ship?
And he says, one sec. I never did give him a name, did I? Okay, one sec.
Joel.
Once you are prepared, how long do you all need to prepare, do you think? Do you need a night's rest, or are you all settled for the day and ready to go?
I guess we can wait till tomorrow morning, but we can't stay here too long.
Tomorrow morning, then, head to the front gates. Dromir,
Is that the
the
jellyfish guy?
jellyfish gentleman that helps guard the front gate will escort you to the southern military outpost, the southern spire, at which point you will be given a vehicle to travel along the seafloor towards, quickly and silently, relatively speaking, towards the temple itself. I will give you the map, and he hands off to you all, and someone can write this in their inventory, a map, a seafloor map for the area between...
He would hand it to Siegfried. So
yep,
Siegfried
okay, so
can
Siegfried,
take it.
add the seafloor map to your inventory.
All right.
One sec. Dromir,
Shylv.
the jellyfish man, will guide you to your vehicle. On my word, he is faithful, and due to what I see as your inclination, I will say, if it speaks to his either positively or negatively, just to keep you all informed, he is a follower of the older faith, the more passive faith. Be that a good thing or bad thing, I cannot say, as to each their own. I have my preferences, but there's that. He is a upstanding and reliable contact. Again, Dromir, the jellyfish man.
Just rolls off the tongue. Shylv, are you in your ISO form, or are you still as a Triton folk person thing?
Shylvie? Oh, Shylvie. Hello?
I mean, I guess it doesn't really matter either way. I was just curious. Alright, so I guess we'll just
We assume
head out.
Shylvie is in whatever form is appropriate, I suppose. Whatever. They can tell us later. It's not super important. Maybe important
I
later.
was just
but... Oh,
curious.
there you are.
Same one with
Same one with what?
Damn.
Tenna octopus with hate thingy.
I'm sorry, could
Generally-
you say that again?
What? I heard octopus.
I know, which has
Antenna.
very heavy implications. Type that in chat, because I feel like I really need to hear this, or try to speak up and see if that helps. Because that would be...
Shylvie just looks like Flynn. It just shows up. I'm your replacement.
Shylvie's just like, which plan were we going with again? Am I still replacing him? Sorry, Shylvie's typing in the chat.
Oh god, they got us to go to the trench. I didn't want to go to the trench.
Hey,
I
not the
wanted to stay
trench,
away
just
from the-
very, very close to it. To a temple that exists
your
on the
mouth.
edge of it that may be infested by demons from the trench.
Hey,
Can
think
we-
about
do
it.
we-
Now we can complete the other mission.
Huh?
No, you don't know about that mission. The mission that Ultimus gave me
That's
to
true.
kill the serpent,
Not
to
the
kill the Guardian.
Yeah, the Guardian. Yeah, Ultimus only told Zen that mission, just keep in mind. You guys can have
And I have
fun
not
with
told
it, but
anyone
it
else.
is.
I have not told anyone else.
Yeah, Shylvie, did you say you were appearing as a octopus person? Fish folk?
Nope.
Oh,
Normal
Shylvie's
octopus-haired
in her normal octopus-haired three-pupiled form. She has chosen to grow a pair of fleshy antennae as well.
I
Okay.
see. That was the antenna part.
Got it. All right, cool.
Adding fleshy to it makes it.
Yeah.
Uh.
Oh no. Anywho, so yes. Flynn will sort of conclude the meeting, as it were, and will speak up and say, I will contact you all at sundown tomorrow. should you all still wish to help move Arcanautus, move Arcanautus in a direction that will hopefully bring it towards peaceful and positive coexistence with the Subsea Kingdom, I look forward, honestly, to seeing that. If the protection is, as long as there is activity, steps being taken towards defending this place and its people, that, and he kind of puts his finger down on the desk, is what matters to me most on a personal level. Outside of my faith, outside of my better judgment, I will be quite frank with you, that is what matters to me most. With all that you've said here tonight, I have a lot to think about. Like I said, I will be in contact tomorrow night. If you are back here, please do report directly back to me. Do not let and or tell anybody what you did or saw. I do not know who to trust right now. And you all will be instruments of change, hopefully for the better, I think. And this is definitely the first step.
Can I do an insight check?
Go ahead.
To just to get his to fully understand his overall sincerity. That's
his
pretty
overall
much my...
sincerity you're trying to judge. Okay. 17. I'm gonna roll something IRL. All right. Zen. The way Flynn speaks to you all, you're detecting a hint of guilt. You don't know, you can't tell why, you can't tell where, but behind the resolve and behind the confidence in what he says, there's clearly some kind of sadness or some kind of guilt that is present. You're not exactly sure what it's about or what it's for. You could pry further, or you can just leave it as is. It's your decision. But Flynn seems to be kind of drawing the meeting to a conclusion. If anybody wants to get final words in, now's the time. If their mics decide to work. Poor Shylvie.
Also,
Siegfried is good and doesn't want to say anything.
I guess I would just say, and this is with the intent of trying to identify that guilt.
Okay.
I would say,
Noted.
well, we'll get the job done. Let's just hope that let's just hope it works out well for all of us. And and maybe the Subsea Kingdom and Arcanautus overall.
He sort of like does one of those a nod in agreement where you tilt your head ever so slightly, like you were about to say something or you were about to argue, but then you just decide to nod. As you tack Arcanautus on there as well, and he nods. He clearly, you can tell just based from how he's spoken about it and his own personal story that he's revealed, the extent of which he's revealed to you, he may have a little bit of a bias here.
Yeah. But was I able to detect any... Should I roll again for that type of thing? Like, I'm trying to see if Well, my intent is I want to see if he's sending us on a death
initial
mission.
Insight roll, and sort of I'm
Okay.
revealing what is clear based on that.
Yeah, because I don't like. I just wanted to find out if I could get an idea of that. It's a trap. We're being sent
The
in
guilt left his face as he was distracted by this aspect of the conversation. It appears that he is not guilty, perhaps. You can draw this conclusion, I think. He is not guilty as to, or seemingly saddened regarding the hope of a peaceful solution. If that was to be like a point of contention, he perhaps did have a bit of it, as you mentioned, like worked out for all of us, and he sort of kind of eyed around the group, especially Siegfried. You did feel a hint of like a little something in his eye as it passed over Siegfried. That guilt perhaps was still there for it.
Yeah, I'd heard none of that.
Oh, I cut out for the entire thing?
You cut off on I didn't hear anything after I had said the last thing I said, and I disconnected and reconnected just now because of it.
I was able to hear it, so it's probably just on his end.
It was probably just me then.
All right, cool. Basically, no guilt about the second half of the sentence. Little bit of guilt as he looks at you all, and as you say, like, oh, hopefully it works out for all of us, as he appears to initially make the conclusion of, oh, you're talking about your group, and then you add in the Subsea Kingdom, and he kind of nods, and then you add in Arcanautus, and he kind of tilts his head, is about to say something, and then just nods.
Okay, so he feels guilt. The guilt was towards us.
Apparently.
Yeah,
that's
I
what
don't
you
wanna
can
go
conclude
anymore.
based on your initial judgment. You can keep pressing him. You can leave it as is.
No,
you can.
That's enough for me.
Okay. All right. With that, my beautiful friends, you eventually exit, leaving Flynn Morin. Does anybody want to say anything else before they head out of the temple itself?
Let's say some.
You can certainly try, Shylvie.
It's 11:30, and so I need to sleep as soon as possible.
You're going in and out of time.
It's 11:30 and sleep is impossible?
I think he's saying he wants to end it soon.
Yeah, that was what I was moving towards actually as well. Oh, roll 20. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I figured. As you all find a place to bed down for the night, actually, he would offer, they do have beds, or I suppose they're beds in one sense, resting pods in the temple, that you could utilize. Obviously, actually, I apologize, they have a ton of resting pods in the temple. There's an entire floor dedicated to them, because of the form of worship that these people used to have. So you guys could sleep here free of charge, overnight if you are inclined to. You could go see if you could hang at Babrug's place for the night, hang with family, or you could rent rooms at an inn for the night. Do you have a preference of those three options, my friends? Shylvie, if need be, you can just type your choice in chat. Zen, do you have a preference?
Babrug.
Zen says Babrug. Siegfried, do you have a preference?
Not really.
Okay, so Babrug, I'll count that towards. And yeah, okay, so we're going to have a sleepover at Shylvie's grandpa's house. Yay!
Yay, Grandpa!
Alright, you all return to the steam vents, and Babrug greets you happily. Oh, pleasure to see you again. Staying for the night? Alright, well, I'll find something. And he sort of eventually finds some, I guess, cloths and like various cleaning implements, like cleaning rags and things like that he's able to kind of throw together. He has one guest bed that he says,
How do beds
pardon,
work underwater?
pardon, men, but sorry?
How would that work underwater? Wouldn't you just float above it?
Huh?
Wouldn't a guest bed, you just float above it?
When I say
float?
guest bed, their beds are all these sort of conical art. Yeah, no, okay. Imagine a conch shell facing upwards. It's sort of got a lip to it, you know what I mean?
So when you float up, you don't fall out.
Yeah, it's like a bit of a cocoon. It both has an arch, and also you can kind of just clutch onto the edge, or you can like put yourself in such a way that you don't float away. It's snug. Not very comfortable for those who aren't used to sleeping or being in enclosed spaces or tight spaces. Shylvie, it's gonna take a while to get used to, but eventually sleep will find you. As sleep finds you all for the night, you all lie down, and Zen, Siegfried, Shylvie, you are completely fine. Zen and Siegfried, make wisdom saving throws for me.
Oh, God.
Oh, this is the nightmare spell, isn't it?
Does my crown help? Or doesn't it?
We'll get to that.
I got an 11. Do I have any?
Okay.
Oh wait, quick question. Is this an effect from a an abyssal type force?
Yes.
Oh, sweet, I get advantage. Okay. This would count as a spell or ability, correct?
It is an ability, yes.
All right, so I have advantage. All right.
Oh, I just realized. Okay, whoops. So did you guys know Nightmare is also a creature?
Yeah, it's a horse.
Yeah, it's the
It's an
dream
undead
spell
horse.
I was thinking of. Sorry. Do. Yeah, okay. DC was 17. So that means, I think... Zen, what was that second thing?
I
Yeah,
had
so
advantage.
you just make it. Siegfried, Zen. Now, wait a minute. I have to double check that the saving throw... Okay, the saving throw is only for the actual damage. As well as... Okay, yep, got it. Okay. Zen, Siegfried, Shylvie, you sleep peacefully and dreamlessly. It's dreamless, you think. You're in darkness. There's nothing around. You hear a muffled roar off in the distance, but it kind of fades away, Shylvie. It disturbs you for just a moment, but you shrug it off, and eventually... It doesn't even bother you, even. You don't think that it bothers you. Your mind is at ease. Siegfried, Zen, you guys, your vision in this dream is zooming across the seafloor over brine pools that you see skeletal hands sticking out of. You see these writhing worms, much like you saw within the pools of the contractor. Or I guess Shylvie is the only one who saw them, but you know, just for the party's reference, these hagfish-like mobs descending upon the corpse of a whale. As you fly over that, you see violent eruptions of steam and debris from vents. You swim through and past them. Your vision swims through and past them. Over to the edge, you feel a tugging force as the water, and you see sand being pulled up and over the edge. Your vision rests above the abyss for but a moment until it is yanked down at incredible speeds. Down, 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 until you feel a force come up against you. Something has stopped you, and you slowly seep through it. Your essence traveling sluggishly like mayonnaise through this... Mayonnaise, like molasses through
Molasses?
this... Like molasses through this barrier. Until eventually you're through. You couldn't see it before. There was darkness before, but now there is light. Bioluminescence everywhere. Fish of various neon colors. These dark, sort of skeletal, glowing, like cyan glowing skeletal forms that crawl along the walls. And you see so many teeth. It has so many teeth. A creature... A serpent? No, it has arms. Too many arms. Climbing out from that crevasse on the side. It's about to bite down on you, but you startle awake.
The largest fish person.
You startle awake. Siegfried Zen. That was scary as fuck.
Guys, I don't think I'm going tomorrow. Sorry. I'm gonna go home. Fuck this place. We should have just shrank them. I regret our decisions. Let's just shrink them, put them in a bag, and move on. Come on, guys.
You are able to get back to sleep if you so choose.
I may never sleep again. That was the largest fish. That was the largest fish person I've ever seen in my life.
It was probably only about, you'd say, with the arms, like 30 feet across. Probably about, like, 50 feet long. It was mainly just arms and bones and teeth. A mouth probably, like, 5-6 feet wide of just so many teeth. Rows and rows and rows of teeth. Like, a ludicrous amount. Like, unnatural. All sharp like a shark's.
All right. So yeah, that was scary to Siegfried, but he's also really excited now.
I know you are. You're a good barbarian, Siegfried.
What? This is the guy that ran away from like 2 fights.
Well, he's got the spirit.
You almost died in both those fights.
Yes,
well,
because you ran away.
All right, let's not. All right, ending that off on a terrifying but positive note. That is where we will leave our session for the night. Have a beautiful night, everybody. Shylvie, you are going to be heading out for a while. We may need 1 or 2 more sessions just to sneak in when possible, but Shylvie will be otherwise occupied for a while. We will make this work, although uploads may not be as frequent as they used to be. Please have patience. We look forward to seeing you all on the next episode of Arcanautus Ascent. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Peace.